We all see them out in the fields, right? But what's the real story behind a modern tractor? It's this incredible journey that starts with, just a pile of raw steel, and it ends with a really surprising twist about who's actually making the big bucks in the farming world. So let's dig in.
Okay, let's kick things off with a little riddle for you. What has more software than a modern car and can set you back over $500,000? Any guesses? Yeah, the answer is probably not what you're thinking.
It's a top-of-the-line combine harvester. I mean, this thing is a high-tech titan of the farm, just packed with sensors, autonomous features, the whole 9 yards. And that price tag, that incredible number, that's actually the key to unlocking the real economics of this entire industry.
All right, so to really get how this all works, we're going to follow a tractor's secret life, from the drawing board all the way out to the field.
First things first, building this modern workhorse. A tractor isn't just born in one factory. No way. It's more like a giant, complex puzzle assembled from a global supply chain with tons of different companies, each providing one crucial piece. So it all flows through this thing called the agricultural value chain. You start with the basics, raw materials like steel and rubber. Those get turned into specialized parts. Then the big brands you know and love, they assemble everything. And finally, dealers are the ones who get that machine into the farmer's hands. Here's a good way to think about it. You've got one company, say ArcelorMittal, providing the steel. Another one, like Michelin, making the tires. Then you have these super specialized firms like Cummins building the engine, and tech companies like Trimble supplying all the crazy electronics, the GPS, the telematics. All these different parts flow to one place, the OEM, or Original Equipment Manufacturer. These are the household names you know, right? John Deere, Case IH. They're the ones who do the final assembly. Now, here's something that might surprise you about the market. Even though you see tractors everywhere, it's actually the super high-value harvesting equipment, like that $500,000 combine we talked about, that brings in the most revenue. That huge price tag just gives it this massive, outsized impact on the bottom line. Okay, so the machine's built. It's sitting on a factory floor. But how does it actually get to, say, a farm in the middle of Iowa? Well, that's where the distribution network comes in. The most critical link here is the dealer network. And you can think of it just like the car industry. These are local businesses, and they're the public face of the big brands. But they do so much more than just sell you the machine. They handle the sales, the training, and this is the really important part, the ongoing support that literally keeps a farm running. For a farmer, that local dealer is an absolute lifeline. And of course, this is a global game and it's incredibly diverse. A dealer in North America, they're selling these absolute monster tractors for huge 1,000-acre commercial farms. But you hop over to Asia, and it's a completely different story. The focus there is on small, nimble machines for tiny family plots. The equipment has to be totally tailored to the local scale. All right, so the tractor is built, it's sold to the farmer, story's over, right? Not even close. If you think that's the end, you are missing the biggest, most important piece of this whole puzzle. Because now, we're going to uncover where the real money is made. You have to understand, this industry is really two businesses in one. On one side, you've got the big, flashy, one-time sale of new equipment. But on the other side, you have what's called the aftermarket. And that's all the money that comes from spare parts, maintenance, and service over the entire life of that machine, which could be 10, 15, even 20 years. And here it is. This is the big aha moment. The profit margin on selling a brand new tractor, it can be razor thin, sometimes as low as 5%. But the margin on parts and service? It's a staggering 40%. Let that sink in. The real, long-term, sustainable profit isn't in that initial sale at all. It's in keeping that machine running for the next 2 decades. There's actually a name for this strategy. It's called the absorption rate. And the goal for a dealership is to have their high-profit parts and service department cover all of their operating costs. The rent, the salaries, everything. So what does that mean? It means any profit they make from selling a brand new tractor is just pure gravy on top. The new equipment is almost like a loss leader to get you into that super profitable service business. And believe it or not, that profit model becomes even more important when you look at what's coming down the pike. Because technology is basically turning these tractors into rolling robots. And that changes everything.
I mean, the tech stack in a modern tractor is just mind-blowing. You've got GPS that can auto-steer with centimeter-level precision. You've got telematics that let a dealer diagnose a problem from hundreds of miles away without ever leaving the shop. And then you have these insane AI systems like John Deere's See and Spray, which can literally spot an individual weed in a field and just spray that one plant. It slashes herbicide use. It's incredible. So what's driving all this? Well, it's a combination of labor shortages and this relentless push for more and more efficiency. The next big leap? It's full autonomy. John Deere has already shown off a tractor that a farmer can operate completely from their smartphone. I mean, picture this. You're just sitting there with your phone, watching a field get plowed with no one in the cab. This isn't some far-off science fiction anymore. This is the new reality of farming, and it's happening right now.
But here's the catch. Here's the big point of tension. As these tractors basically become rolling computers, fixing them requires proprietary software that only the dealer has. And this has kicked off a huge fight, the right to repair movement. Farmers are pushing back, demanding access to the software and tools they need to fix their own multi-$100,000 machines. And what they're doing is directly challenging that super lucrative dealer-controlled service model that, as we just saw, underpins the entire industry's profits. And that brings us to the final and maybe most important question. A tractor isn't just a tool anymore. It's a data-collecting, autonomous robot that's part of a massive digital network. So as this all speeds up, you have to ask, who really controls the future of farming? Is it the person who owns the land, or is it the company that owns the code?